So people, the truth about amateur players, the truth about the club golfer, and how over 95% of club golfers are using their hands and wrists incorrectly and don't even know that they're doing it. Now we're going to be taking a peek here at the different handicaps, different levels. There's a massive chance you're going to see your own swing in this video. Now, people, from this position here, it's almost impossible not to hit it clean. We've got a handicap 0 on the right, professional on the left. And these positions really, looking at these two swings, they're almost identical. Now, what we're seeing when we lose angle here, unfortunately, it makes it easier to hit it fat, hit it thin, for the club to touch the ground before we hit it, less shaft lean at impact. What is the average of shaft lean? Do we measure it? Yes, of course. Can we? Yes, we can. And the tour average is 12 degrees. There's 12 degrees there, 90 being straight up, being 0. How much shaft lean do you have? So people, as the release gets worse, the downswing breaks down more and more. Have a look at the handicap 0 on the left of the screen and the handicap 6 on the right. We can see the different angles. Moving through the golf ball, have a look at the hands here of the handicap 0 compared to the handicap 6. And it progressively gets wider, flipping, losing speed, no shaft lean. Have a look at these positions here as we see them time and time again from club players, getting wider and wider, players with no shaft lean, scraping along the ground. How many guys do you see out there working on this drill, bringing this one in here and simply running into a wall? They don't have a release. So if you don't have a release, you're going to release it early. You're going to stand up unconsciously, otherwise you'll fat it because you're losing your angles because you don't release it properly. And you've got a whole range of issues, no shaft lean and no lag, and you're losing speed. The club has to release. So people, how many of you out there really believe that this lead wrist shouldn't move into extension, into a cup position, and the right wrist into a flex position through the golf ball? And this is what's causing everyone issues. When we're looking at this position through the golf ball here, how many people out there are confused and think that that requires incredible timing or that the hands have rolled over massively? They haven't. But if I open up that face, and that's now a very passive release, on this side you can see the fingers of the hand. It's not rolling over. We don't roll it over, but we get the lead wrist to move in extension. We release the club head past the body. So people, right, let's have a look at what's got amateurs completely baffled and practicing incorrectly here and essentially not reaching their potential. Now, look at these two positions here. Right, we've got the right wrist in a flex position here through the golf ball. The lead wrist really moved into extension. And people believe that this is somehow rolled over. And look at the forearms of Hovland, how close they are. Now, from the other view, this is where it's deceptive, right? This is incredible. Have a look at this. Hovland from the front view at the same time. Have a look at this. Now, you would think when people say that, oh, that's some sort of rolled over release. When the lead wrist moves into this extended position, the right wrist in this flex position, it's not rolled over like people think it is. That's why you can see so much of this lead forearm. So people, let's firstly have a listen to what Fred Couples has to say about the release before we look at how to free up the hands in the swing with some great drills and feels to help pick up your angles, your compression, your shaft lean, your speed. We're also going to look at shaping the ball from right to left and left to right, and understanding that by just somehow magically turning your hips that your release is going to be perfect is really just a dream. We've got to work with evidence-based material here, people. This is where we're improving so many people on WorldClassGolf.com. Right, let's get stuck into a fascinating clip here. I think you're going to find this very interesting.
Get the club up here. I clear my hips, but I release the club going down the line. But when I say release, I don't hold on this way. Otherwise, you're going to hit it a mile to the right. So if you can learn to clear your hips a little bit and let the club go down the line and release it towards the ball, not back here where you're doing this. So there's a point where I think about once I make contact, then I feel like I'm releasing the club. So it'll be what I call past the ball. So once again for me, I get the club back, and once I come down here, I'm clearing, and my point of release is actually at the ball, not back here. You're holding your angle. Once I get here, I go at it with pretty much, it doesn't look like it, but I go at it with everything I have.
Let's have a look first up at this release pattern that we're seeing with great players. Now, for a lot of people, and just bear with me for a second, when you see this position, right, we look like we've flipped it. Okay, but what's actually happening, we get the inside of the lead wrist touching the inside of the right wrist, and we've got the right wrist in a flex position.
Now, what this can do for so many people, and that's why we've had such great feedback from one of the last videos, it's just pretty much gone viral. And on World Class Golf, people are talking about it. We've got emails coming. It's really, really interesting. And a lot of people playing so much better. So we're going to touch on this a little bit again. And when you see this position here moving through the golf ball, people think it's flipped. But what it actually enables you to do is actually handle some angle coming down, whipping that club head. And that's what the release is. Now, we've got 12 degrees of shaft lean at impact with your mid to high irons. That's a PGA average. Closer you get to that, the better you hit it.
So people, right, let's just have a quick listen here to David Duval, ex-number 1 player in the world and 13-time winner on the PGA Tour and British Open champion. Let's have a quick listen to what he says about the release.
And he said, all right, now throw it directly behind you into the fence. I'm like, come on. He goes, no, trust me. If you try to roll, you're not going to do it particularly successfully. But if you get your hands going this way, getting the right going under the left, you can throw it behind you and see where my wrist is?
I bet you can.
Again, watch where my wrist is, okay? And the face is still square.
And, like, to be honest, how many amateurs are we seeing, like, their swings never really change unless they're working on the correct things. So they're trying to bring in these angles like this, but they're actually ruining their release. So they actually dump it even more. And if you don't release it, you're going to release it early. So guys, does it look like I've rolled that club over? You know that release here that we see of every single top player that's ever played the game? Does it look like I've rolled it over? See that club head? Now that would be rolling it over, all right? Now, does it take incredible timing? No, it doesn't. And how do we do it? Well, we're getting that right wrist to move into a more of a flex position. So when you see a lot of the club players, the amateurs, they're swinging through, it's like one big chip shot. You know, it's like the lead wrist. They get up to the top here and the grip's pointing down. And when we see a lot of the great players, you'll see the end of the grip pointing towards the target. That left hand moving in 45 to 55 degrees of extension is a fact. Dr. Robert Newell from World Class Golf Instruction has one of the leading biomechanics specialists analyze the top players in the world. We know what the wrists are doing. Now, this drill it's just a great drill, right? So what we do, moving into this halfway stage, we get the right wrist moved into a flex position. It's going to lower the shaft plane. Left wrist is an extended one. And what you can do from here is simply swing back and over the golf ball. And you can see my hands and wrists. You'll see the angles picking up. It's because now you've got something, you've got a release. And like I said, if you don't have a release, you're going to release it early and you're going to run into this wooden style swing here where there's just no speed, no power and no compression, creating awareness with your hands and your wrists. So running back and through. Now, what we're going to do is just do like a half swing here. All right, that's just like a 7-iron that I've just chipped away and the thing's gone like 155 yards because that's the speed of the club head whipping through, right? So when you get these hands, you get that club head to whip through. We're still getting the shaft length, but we need that move at the end to really help these hands release that club head, getting that club to pass the hands once again into the halfway position here. That right wrist into an extend. We learn 40% visually, 30% through feel. So look at your own hands, get a feeling of where they are, and then get in there and give a little bit of a half swing and really hit that dead straight about 155 to 160 yards with a half swing. Guys, one of the great ways to pick up awareness of your hands and wrists, film your swings with your mobile phone, send your swing through me for a swing analyst. I'm helping professionals all around the world. I'm helping club players and I'll get you moving the right direction, guys. So guys, when we're looking at the driver compared to the higher irons, it releases a little bit more. So what we're seeing by most great players out there is when they're swinging to the golf ball, that the driver, around when the shaft is parallel to the ground here, will be releasing on my side a little bit more between 11 and 12 o'clock. Okay, now when we're looking at the iron shots, we're seeing it release a little bit less. Now there's different rotational rates there, just so you know that when you're experimenting around with your golf clubs. Now when we're looking at hitting draws and fades, the release will also be a little bit different. Let's take a look at a really good visual picture And for that, I'm going to use my mobile phone here. All right, so when we're looking at fading the golf ball, we won't be releasing it over as much. We'll be releasing it with the left lead wrist moving into extension, but we're releasing a little bit under. So for a good visual picture for you guys, if you want to hold the shot up a little, fade it a little bit, we're going to get this phone to sort of point back at me. All right, even though the wrists are working in a similar fashion, right wrist into flexion, lead wrist into extension. Now, we've heard a lot of great players talk about. Tiger Woods has mentioned that, Ben Hogan's mentioned that, Garcia and DeChambeau, it's been a big thing for him with his iron shots the last few years. And when we're looking at drawing the ball, we're going to be releasing it a little bit more so that when we get through, the toe's going to roll over, we're going to hit it for a little bit more from the inside here, and we're going to get the phone then to point away from me. So, but we're still getting that lead wrist into an extended position. Know that just the hand points away. And we've got this 45-degree rule here, people. If you're filming your swings with your mobile phones, you really should be, or sending your swing through to me to get you on the right track. We can see that 45-degree angle with the leading edge there, that being 90, that being 0. And we want to get that 45. And you can see where that right hand is pointed away. So there's a couple of really interesting feels of an underneath release, phone back at you for a fade, and the right hand away for a draw. This is a great place to be to understand exactly how the release is working. Have a look at this for a really interesting exercise here to create not just great wrist and hand awareness, but also some really good tilts and turns here in your body. Get your hands together like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move the lead wrist into a bowed or a flexed position on the way back. Okay, deliberately exaggerate it a little bit. All right, so the right wrist is going to be in an extended position. We're going to get down past impact here, and then the lead wrist is going to move into a flexed position, and the lead wrist is going to move into an extended position, and the right wrist into a flexed position. Once again, up to the top, bow that lead wrist, cup the lead wrist. Right wrist extends, right wrist flex, right? Now, when you get the idea of how that works, you can speed it up a little bit. Right? You'll get a feeling of moving. Now, what it does is it really helps you tilt in both directions, okay? The other move you can add to that is sliding up the right hand up the left arm, and then the left arm up the right hand, okay? And you can get a movement of sliding your hands in both directions, but we're not flipping it. It's just supplying you with some feels, and you start to understand that your right wrist can move like this and your left wrist can move like this, and we get that perfect timing at the bottom. The golf swing's got some timing in it, right? It's just the way it goes. You're going to have to get that timing. You can't body release it or whatever it is people are trying to do. So these are a couple of great ways to create some really interesting feels through your entire swing, watching your hands, learning by looking down. We learn 40% visually, 30% through feel. Guys, get in there and use these movements, these positions to really help free up your swing. Your body will follow. You'll pick up some speed, really help you move in the right direction finally, and start to hit the ball as good as you can and reaching your potential.